The resurrection of Colonel Townsend. Although Jesus achieved resurrection, died and brought himself back to life, as Christians believe, and although it may seem extraordinary to us in this modern age, other people have been able to suspend their own lives and then restart them. Indian fakers were once able to do this, and we have a number of examples witnessed by many people of fakers who were buried alive and were resurrected by their helpers after several weeks underground. But this still required the use of helpers, people who could dig up the body and animate it back into life. True resurrection is the ability to die, stop the pulse and all apparent signs of life, and by one's own volition start them again. These cases might not be regarded as entirely clinically dead these days, as we have become more sophisticated at detecting signs of life. Those who might once have been regarded as dead might nowadays be regarded as being alive. But this whole area raises questions. Just when is a person dead? And the example we have chosen is no saint, but a man from the UK, a Colonel Townsend. The account. The account comes from a book entitled The Wonders of the Little World, also called A General History of Man, displaying the various faculties, capacities, powers and defects of the human body, and remarkable for bodily perfections or defect. It was written by Nathaniel Wanley, 1634 to 1680, an English clergyman and writer. Wanley was educated at Trinity College, Cambridge, and graduated Bachelor of Arts in 1653 and Master of Arts in 1657. And this is the Wren Library. Although his first publication was Vox Dei, or The Great Duty of Self-Reflection upon a Man's Own Ways, in 1658, and War and Peace Reconciled, 2 books, in 1670 and 1672, as translation from the Latin of Justus Lipsius, Wanley's major work is The Wonders of the Little World, or A General History of Man, in 6 books, 1678. The work was meant to illustrate, anecdotally, the prodigies of human nature. Wikipedia admits to the fact that its content shows wide reading, but adds that it's credulous, having or showing too great a readiness to believe things. Nevertheless, Wikipedia also acknowledge that authorities are fully given and referenced. Later editions include that of 1774, with revision and index, and 1806 to 7, 2 volumes. This quote comes from the 1806 edition. In the book, the account is provided by Dr. Cheyne, and the entry was entitled An English Malady. The account of Dr. Cheyne. Colonel Townsend, a gentleman of honour and integrity, had for many years been afflicted with a nephritic, a kidney, complaint. His illness increasing and his strength decaying, He came from Bristol to Bath in a litter in autumn, and lay at the Bell Inn. Dr. Barnard and I, Dr. Cheyne, were called to him, and attended him twice a day, but his vomitings continuous still incessant and obstinate against all remedies, we despaired of his recovery. While he was in this condition, he sent for us one morning. We waited on him with Mr. Scrine, his apothecary. We found his senses clear and his mind calm. His nurse and several servants were about him. He told us he had sent for us to give him some account of an odd sensation he had for some time observed and felt in himself, which was that, composing himself, he could die or expire when he pleased, and yet by an effort or somehow he would come to life again, which he had sometimes tried before he sent for us. We heard this with surprise, but as it was not to be accounted for from common principles, we could hardly believe the facts as he related it, much less give any account of it, unless he should please to make the experiment before us, which we were unwilling he should do, lest in his weak condition he might carry it too far. He continued to talk very distinctly and sensibly, above a quarter of an hour, about this surprising sensation, and insisted so much on our seeing the trial he made that we were at last forced to comply. We all three felt his pulse first. It was distinct, though small and thread, and his heart had its usual beating. He composed himself on his back and lay in a still posture for some time. While I held his right hand, Dr. Barnard laid his hand on his heart, and Mr. Scrine held a clean looking-glass to his mouth. I found his pulse sink gradually, till at last I could not feel any, by the most exact and nice touch. Dr. Barnard could not feel the least motion in his heart, nor Mr. Scrine the least foil of breath on the bright mirror held to his mouth. Then each of us by turns examined his arm, heart, and breath, but could not, by the nicest scrutiny, discover the least symptom of life about him. We reasoned a long time about this odd appearance, as well as we could, and all of us judging it inexplicable and unaccountable, and finding he still continued in that condition, we began to conclude that he had indeed carried the experiment too far, and at last were satisfied he was actually dead, and were just ready to leave him. This continued about half an hour. As we were going away, we observed some motion about the body, and upon examination found his pulse and the motion of his heart gradually returning. He began to breathe gently and speak softly. We were all astonished to the last degree at this unexpected change, and after some further conversation with him and among ourselves, went away fully satisfied as to all the particulars of this fact, but confounded and puzzled, and not able to form any rational scheme that might account for it. An afterthought. It is why it may be a good idea for everyone to be given time before they are buried or cremated. Not just Archbishop Christodoulos of Athens, seen lying in repose, or nuns like Mother Angelica, but everyone, lest they decide to come back and find themselves in a morgue, or worse.